We'll talk a little bit about Industry 4.0. Have you heard that term? Oh, that's fun. Okay, that'll be cool then. Challenges, opportunities, age of the customer in terms of not years on the earth, but age in terms of era of the customer. That's probably one that's familiar to people if you've been around this. Mobile technology, we'll talk a bit about. 2 walkthroughs, this is where we will save time if we need to. And then improving patient experience. So my background, these slides I believe are available to you guys after this. And so things like this where I have a lot of bullets that aren't super important, we're gonna just move. I have a background in art. I went to the School of the Arts for high school. I went to college, starting out in fine art. And as I said at one of the lunches earlier, then I decided I wanted to make money with my career. And so I moved into graphic design and went that direction. So I've been working about 20 years now, maybe more, as a UX designer, UI designer. And there you go. I'm gonna skip the rest of that. Agile, lean, all the stuff that you guys are probably familiar with. Healthcare, though, is interesting. The first 10 years of my career were in healthcare. I worked with various MSOs, medical groups, medical education groups. I went to hundreds of conferences training physicians for CME conferences. And that was as an independent contractor. I worked with intranets. I worked with all of their web presences. And it was a fun era. 10 years ago-ish now, I started with Concentric Sky. We started that as a small company doing essentially ed tech in the beginning. We started with mobile. There's a couple highlights on here that are interesting in terms of our earlier day nuggets. I did work with a company, it was a startup called Numedica in San Francisco in 2000. We were conceptualizing software for a tablet for medical hospital templating. So now you kind of go, yeah, everybody's trying to do that, but this was, as it says up there, 7 years before the iPhone. So it's pretty cool technology to be playing with. It didn't go anywhere, but it's a neat nugget. The other 2 are their iConnects and the in-field stuff I'll be walking through after. Other than that, anything I missed on there? Just mobile technology, since this is mobile focused in some ways. I've been working in mobile since pre-App Store. So 2007, we were creating our first apps. When the App Store opened in 2008, we had apps in it. I've worked in Cupertino with the Apple team doing mobile development. Just some highlights. Healthcare, these are companies that I've worked with through the years. I split it up. They all blur, but the stuff on the left there are medical-oriented. The other stuff are other companies that I've worked with. Continue to work with National Geographic, the World Bank. I do a lot of ed tech in addition to healthcare. So if you have questions about open badges, connected learning, I'm your guy. All right, industry. Nobody raised their hands to this, so this is kind of cool. We are moving into the 4th industrial revolution. There have been 3 previous. So this is kind of a highlight. We'll look at each one really quickly. There is a point to this in terms of healthcare. We'll get to that. So 1.0, 2.0. Again, you get the slides. So if I go fast, it's just because of the time. Industry 1.0 was essentially the iron and textile industries. We went from farming into industry. It's the beginning of it. So each one is kind of marked by a hallmark in technology innovation. In this case, it was the steam engine. Opened up travel, opened up all that stuff. Industry 2.0, just before World War I, we started to see the steel industry, the oil industries coming into play, also the advent of the telephone, the light bulb, the phonograph, the internal combustion engine. 3.0, there's some contention. We are either leaving 3.0 right now or we will be very soon. And so we'll talk, 4.0, of course, is where the focus is going to be for us. But digital revolution, the personal computer, the internet, this is where most of us kind of grew up in. 4.0 is going to get interesting. It's going to seem sci-fi on some of those realms, and we'll talk through those. A lot of them are on the cusp of starting, though. Neat piece of trivia, though, if you think about it. Between Industry 2.0, where we invented the light bulb, and 3.0, we went to the moon. So as much as the 4.0 stuff might seem like, oh, well, biometrics, all this stuff is so infant, we hate most of it right now. A lot happens in these timelines. So Industry 4.0, what is it? Basically, it's building on the revolution we have right now. Technology is ubiquitous. Like, it's part of our existence. It's not something that's outside of it. Robotics, artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, biotechnology, the Internet of Things. There's jokes about that. Even as recently as a few years ago, we're laughing about, well, why do I want the internet in my refrigerator? 5 years from now, it's going to be like, how did we not? It's all connected. So fusion technologies, we're blurring the lines between the physical, digital, and biological spheres. And that's where we get into wearables, we get into nano, augmenting our bodies. We're starting to see that now with the neural connections between the brain and artificial limbs. Connectivity is kind of the key. The neat thing about, I do have to keep an eye on time, but the first three were kind of driven by technological advances. The fourth one, those are coming with it, but it's also about the connection of all of them. And that's really the difference. Oh, so yeah, here's the thing. What does that have to do with healthcare? Which sector do you think is likely to be the benefit of the fourth industrial revolution? You can see at the bottom there, 622. This is from The Economist, polled around the world. I do have this referenced. There's a link. You can look it up. It's a great white paper. But 45% of people believe healthcare is the next revolution. So on its heels, we got education, we got finance. Finance has some interesting parallels with healthcare right now. But so that's why this is important. And it's an exciting time. So how did healthcare change throughout the three? If you can't hear me, I'm stepping away from the mic a little more than I should probably. Just let me know. Really, it hasn't changed much since the beginning. It's only now that healthcare is really changing. During the first one, during the second one, doctors went to patients, usually to their homes. During the third one, patients went to doctors. And the big difference is doctors took notes on computers and not on notepads. The fourth one, though, is pretty radically changing. And that's kind of the crux of what we'll get into. So healthcare specific, Industry 4.0. And this is, by the way, a great Google search. Age of industry, fourth age of industry, however you want to phrase it. There's all kinds of wonderful articles that are pretty exciting about where things are going. But here's what's driving healthcare. So Internet of Things. Telemedicine, have you guys heard that phrase before? I see nods. Okay, so essentially remote medicine, bringing healthcare and doctors to places that they can't go physically. Wearables, virtual reality, starting to change education. My son has an Oculus Rift. It's not there yet. The pixels aren't quite real, but boy, it's immersive and it's cool if you've had a chance to play with any of that equipment. Patients are starting to monitor their own health. This is really recent. It's only been in the last 5 years that healthcare is kind of a fashion. The Apple Watch is driving part of it, but so's Fitbit, so's Weight Watchers. It's pretty amazing. And so that's going to be a big driving force. Patients will pretty soon expect to be notified if their health is in question, if something's going on with them, whether that be from doctors that are remotely monitoring their health, especially with critical patients, elderly patients, where they're now being wired up to biometrics that are reading what's going on in their body. But also from your apps, the artificial intelligence from that Apple Watch or whatever you might be wearing, there's a lot of other ones from your Garmin, can start telling you, kind of preempting issues before they happen. Technology is available for a lot of this stuff, and this is kind of the interesting thing. There's some stuff in here that seems a little sci-fi that we'll get into, but a lot of it exists. It's just not being used yet, and it's that key piece of technology that makes it ubiquitous to everybody just hasn't happened, but it will. So this is where the healthcare thing gets interesting. There are so many directions I could go in terms of like where the challenges are, the opportunities. We're going to skate through a couple small topics. EHRs are a big one, and I'm using them as an example right now just for the next little section of this, mainly because I work with them all the time and have forever. We'll define that in a second. You guys can read the little thing there. And it's not, humor is always funny because there's that undercurrent of truth in it. So what is an EMR and an EHR? Essentially, electronic medical record is that paper record of your chart. So that's that. EHRs are the big deal right now, and that is the kind of holistic look of your health. And that's going to cross through labs, it's going to cross through the hospital, it's going to cross through all of those papers in your background. So that's where the fun begins. So that's just EHR. When I say that, that's what we're referring to. So these are becoming everywhere. Most hospitals are running them. There's a number of contenders for what's the best one. Epic, there's somebody here from Epic, is the top one right now. Very powerful stuff. Unfortunately, where we are right now with most of them, they're like a lot of technology. It's kind of funny because back for a while, the computer was supposed to cut down paper. That was the big deal. It's going to cut the paper, but it created reams of paper. But now in 2017, that's not really true anymore. In 1990, that was the big joke, how computers didn't solve that problem. We just had to wait a little longer because now the paper actually is cut and we have more stuff online. EHRs are in the same boat right now. We're entering it. They aren't really doing what the whole promise was yet, but they will be. And that's the nature of it. There are issues with them. I'm saying EHRs, but it's more than just that. I'm picking on those right now just because they're easy targets and they're everywhere. Most medical software right now is suffering from this same stuff, with a few exceptions. Overly complex, need for training, complicated setup processes, poor user experiences. They are often actually hurting reimbursement, and it's not the fault of the software, it's the fault of the complexity of the software. Data, for instance, I'm working with a first responder, Tualatin Valley Fire and Health right now. They are finding that as we're doing paper charting, a lot of times if that chart, they're in emergency situations, if that chart isn't catered to their desire and their needs in that moment, that data gets put in a narrative. But that narrative can't be used easily for reimbursements, and it can't, it's hard. And so these fields, maybe in the doctor's office it's easier, it's more relaxed, but any of the emergency fields, they don't have time to figure out the software. And yet the software currently is being built by engineers, not user experience designers. And so it's functional, but hard to use, generally. And I love engineers. I know there's probably a lot here. Let's look at a couple of these. I am showing these not to, it's mainly just to show the current state of UI of a lot of these things. This is Epic. Epic, like I said, is the most powerful one right now out there, at least the one that I've worked with a lot. Going through all scripts. What I want you to pay attention to here is the UX and the UI. The functionality, the software engineering is a whole other topic, and I'm not an expert in that. But user interface I am. So here we have all scripts. eClinical works. My screen's small to read my slide. One of these I have a funny thing. Oh, it's on the next one. This is NEXTGEN. I use NEXTGEN a lot. I have made numerous mobile interfaces for this. The thing that I enjoy here is this is from their marketing characteristic to help reduce errors and maximize efficiency and accuracy. I realize I must have deleted the line. Maybe it was too contentious for the room. However, it did go on to say user, because of the UI being so clear and so useful, that this is, the end-all be-all. So, another cartoon. This is very true. So the thing with all of these things, they're going through transition. And nobody really knows where they're headed yet. They're huge, huge pieces of software that are touching proprietary information, patient health records. It's not an easy ship to move on the turn of a hat. You can't just, we're going to redo all of the front end of these. But we will be, because we have to, because these aren't helping the doctors. They're helping some aspect of the doctors, but they're also hindering others. In this, emergency healthcare records is helpful. A lot of the software, though, is critical to providing care to patients. Poor usability in this field, it's not irritation. A lot of times you can get away with kind of complaining about UI and UX, and there's no consequences other than people are complaining. With healthcare, it hurts people, and it can hurt people, and it can cost a lot of money, and it results in malpractice. I don't recall how many, almost 50 malpractice cases in 2016 that fundamentally had to do with incorrect use of software. So that's a lot. Did I say that? Medical errors have been posited to be the third leading cause of death in the United States. These are preventable medical errors, not the kind that you can't prevent. That's a huge distinction. All of these things are referenced, so when you get the slides, if you want to go read, I really encourage it, because I really did have to kind of skate the surface of some of this. They're amazing articles, and you learn a lot. So there's one example. This circulated on Medium, I think last year. I don't remember now, but the link is down there. It was a story of Jenny, and I'll talk through that really quickly, but the point is Jenny is a person in this story, and that's the Medium article had to do with this specific person in this event that happened. I would say that Jenny is representative of an issue and not a person. There's so many stories that I found that kind of mirror the same thing. Essentially, Jenny was in the hospital, needed critical care, needed specific things to happen. Those things did not happen because the software was hard to use. That's the crux of it. You can go read the details, you can read the article. She ended up dying. These nurses that were working with her, I know people like this, brilliant people, presented with incredibly complex tools that take longer to use than their own experience, and yet they have to. So what they missed was simply notifications within the software that weren't brought to the forefront. And that's tragic. That's hard. So it's not just this one. There's a lot of these kind of things. UX can hurt people if it's not done right. UX isn't the only problem, so this is just important to say. Healthcare is huge, and I'll probably keep saying stuff like that and caveating what I'm saying. UX isn't the issue, it's an issue. The issue really is that healthcare is still living in an era that we're moving out of, and they're trying to figure it out, and there's a lot of people trying to figure it out. Healthcare has a high degree of tolerance for variability. There's not really a structured way that people have to do something. And so the example I give up there, when you get on a plane, everything's orchestrated. Where the stewardesses stand versus what they say, all of it is the same. And you've been on planes, so you know it's always the same. And there's a reason for that. It's to keep people safe. So the consequences when you don't have that kind of formality and structure to the experiences, it's hard to find the errors. EHRs don't generally get sued. Even if they are the cause of the issue, the doctor gets sued. Hospitals are proprietary. They're not going to share their information. It's not popular. And so we get those issues compounding, measuring the problem. Oh, so that's just, we have to measure these problems, and we need a way to do it. Martin Macari, when a plane crashes, we don't say this is confidential proprietary information the airplane company owns. We consider this part of public safety. Hospitals really need to get on board with this. There are complexities there. It's easy for me to soapbox on how UI is bad and this is bad and we should fix it. These are huge industries and a lot of moving parts. And so it's not an overnight fix, but it is happening. UX is part of the solution, and we are at a UX conference. And so we'll focus on that. UX already keeps people safe. Increased sophistication of medical devices needs to deliver complex information quick and intuitively. All of this stuff we learn, I specifically took out, I give presentations to doctors like this as well from a different point of view. Usually have to teach them about what good UX is. So I'm assuming most of us know that. So I'm skipping, what those details are of intuitive information. Good UX in medicine reduces the need for interpretation. Good UX can cater specifically to the needs of the audience, and should. This is probably a given for this audience. Usability, accessibility, pleasure, delight, whatever buzzword we want to use. Age of the customer. This is a UX thing. And I like that a lot of people, you guys, I'm sure, I saw nods earlier, a lot of people are aware of what's happening here, but physicians aren't generally. We've gone through numerous ages, just like the industries. There's a lot of parallels there. 1900s, age of manufacturing. 1960, distribution. 1990, information age. A lot of people you'll talk to that aren't UX-oriented or technology-oriented feel like we're still there. We are in the age of information. In fact, we've left it quite a while ago. The age of the customer is where we are moving into and have been for a little while, and it hasn't touched healthcare yet, but it's starting to. And we'll see that as we go forward. UX, this is us. It's probably the coolest time to do what we all do, to me. We are really shaping this next era of technology, hands down. We've seen, we got Airbnb, hospitality. That's a whole industry that was turned on its head. Uber, transportation, whole industry. Of course, there's Lyft. There's all kinds of other ones, but these are the keynote ones that really started it. Netflix, we've got Amazon Prime, Hulu, all of the other ones that are out there now. We all, I don't even have cable. That's all we need. But Netflix started that. I don't know if you guys remember Alec Baldwin on TV and all of us going, what the hell is he doing up there? And what are they doing? And yet now it's like, how would you not have Netflix? So it's huge, and it happens quick. And in the beginning, we all get confused by it because we can't conceive of it yet. It's too different. Napster with MP3s. Oh, it's going to destroy music. Some people still say that, but no, it's reinventing music, and the same thing's happening here. So healthcare, we don't have that yet. We have a lot of cool things going on though, and a lot of people are working on just that idea. So let's take a look at a patient experience. How am I doing? 15:25, is that correct? That is the time? Somebody? Yes, thank you. It's on a timer. I wasn't sure if I was looking at a clock or a timer. So, but either way. So here's a typical situation. I don't feel well. I call my doctor. It's a busy day. You've all called, I'm sure, and had to leave a voicemail. They'll get back to you, unless it's an emergency, different scenario. They call back, schedule an appointment 3 days later. The appointment is in the middle of the week, so I take off work, I get there, I sit, I don't feel good. I'm in the waiting room with other sick people. I get to see my doctor, I get a prescription. I go to the pharmacy, I pick it up, I stand in line, usually with other sick people. Finally get home, I read the label, I learn how to take my pills, I throw the box away, the leaflet away. I don't know if anybody reads the leaflets, but they're in there. The next day, I forget to take the pills until lunch. The patient information leaflet told me not to eat with the pills, but I threw that away and forgot. The next day, I feel pretty good. So how many have stopped taking medicine when they feel better? Most of us. A few days later, I feel sick again because you stopped taking the medicine. Then there's questions. Do I take twice the amount? People ask these. That's kind of funny. I'll read this anyhow. That kind of was a random slide to throw in the middle of those. 75% of providers say patient experience is critical to the future success of their organizations. Meanwhile, on the list of hospital CEOs' top concerns, patient satisfaction doesn't make the top 5. That's from this year, polls. Slide's a little out of place, but that's okay, still poignant. A better patient experience. So this is where we start getting into creative thinking. There are lots of solutions for this, so this is just one idea to kind of think out of the box a little bit. Better patient experience, I open an app showing a map of nearby doctors who are available from 8 to 11, 7 days a week. These apps exist. This is what I meant when I said that people are working on this. They aren't popular yet, or they're gaining popularity. A couple of them are down there. I can't read it on my screen. Doctor on Demand, and then General Practitioner. I think it's Delivered Quick is the DQ, if I recall. You can look those up. That one's in the UK, the other one's in the US, and they're cool. It's fun reading, and it's certainly going to change things. So I open an app. I see a profile and photo of the doctor, ratings and reviews from other patients. I select a GP and see the expected arrival time at my location, not the doctor's office. The doctor arrives, immediately arranges for medicine to be shipped directly to me within 2 hours of the consultation. That exists. Amazon's doing that now. So these aren't too far-fetched. When it arrives, it's in a beautifully designed pill box. Welcome back, because I'm a UX designer. The pack has a video screen and plays as soon as I open it, telling me how many pills to take, along with other important information. Pack shows me how to set up the PillX app for my phone, so I can monitor what the pills are doing inside my body and how well I'm healing. The app reminds me when it's time to take the next dose, along with other important information, with or without food. Notifies me when I take more or less medication for optimal effects because you're being monitored. The app stores all my data, and privacy is a whole other topic. We won't get there deeply, but we will touch on it. So what's the difference? The difference is, between the two patient experiences. Well, I'm more likely to comply with the second one. I'm reading and more invested in my health. If I miss a dose and don't follow the instructions, the app can help me. I recognize the value and impact of my treatment. I feel empowered, in control of my own health, not at the mercy of the other schedules or limitations. It's a conversation rather than the doctor kind of being in the parent role. You're working with them. Offerings now have to be smart, beautiful, work perfectly. We all know that, right? We need to blend strategy, design, and development skills to maximize a brand's perceived value to the customer. UX is the thread that unites these disciplines, and that is why user experience is the future. That is from Medicom. Mobile technology, because I did name it Mobile-Ization. So we're actually doing great on time. This is cool. This is a particular research white paper that I really encourage anybody interested to download. The link is there. We won't be touching all of the research that they show, but it's fascinating stuff. So essentially, it was 144 CEOs, managers, administrators, and business development strategists in public and private healthcare. You can read the rest, 23 countries. They were all surveyed. Numerous questions. I believe there were 50 different survey questions, some of which I'll talk about, but not all of them. Survey results, this is just a summary of what was found. You can actually go into the white paper and read how they did all of this stuff. A little out of scope for us, but mobile technology can profoundly reshape the healthcare industry. That almost seems like a given, but it's not, because we're still dealing with legacy systems, and they're still figuring out how to do it. New mobile devices and services will allow people to be more proactive and attending to their own health. Improved outcomes, cost cuts, beautiful. Accessible to communities that are currently undeserved. Telemedicine is also doing this. Facilitate medical innovation. Privacy concerns are a big deal. The survey acknowledged that as well. Whenever there's a mobile signal, there is the capacity for delivering better health care. Survey also pointed out some of the challenges. Customers fear that personal information won't be kept secure. I'm going to keep skating over that for a second. How to make money on mobile health is a big deal right now. We don't know. The patients are healthier, they don't come back to the hospital, but pay per service is the current revenue model for most of these industry entities. It was cool to see that while that was marked in the survey as a high concern, it was equally high that people thought it would be tackled successfully. And so, I put one of them in here. My wife works for the state of Oregon and pointed out that they're already trying to do the pay-for-performance program to help incentivize doctors to make people healthy and not have them come back. So instead of a paternalistic system where doctors tell people what to do, mobile health increases patients' knowledge and power, changing the relationship to a more collaborative one. I'm going to highlight just a couple. Oh, geez. My screen is like this big, the way this software works. So can I even read that? Yeah, I can read it enough. I'm only going to highlight the top of these. I just have 5 slides here. I just thought it was interesting, and I encourage you guys to look through this, whether it's the white paper or at least the slides after, because the answers that aren't the top are equally interesting as the ones that are. And so here we have, what do you think will be the most positive outcome of mobile health? I'm going to have to do this way. Hold on. Here's what I'm going to do with these, because I can't read my own screen. I'm going to step out here. So we'll go through. You guys can kind of scan. All you're looking for right now, sorry for the mic, I know, is the one that's the longest bar, okay? The following, do you think, currently the biggest challenges? By the way, this is a UX issue. That I can't read that. Which of the following do you think are currently the biggest challenges for health industry adoption? Institutional bias. That's a big one. You can see it with doctors already. Now, they're getting younger as we go, and that's what's changing things. They're coming in now with these expectations and looking at these legacy systems and going, you got to be kidding me. So that's a plus. What is your biggest concern? People may misinterpret their own data, because with the doctors having more data, so do we. And we're going to make judgments based on what we know of our own health data. Following currently the most common functions of mobile health, basically education and information, but look at how it changes 5 years from now. Reducing the cost of the healthcare delivery and enabling patients. Last one, and then I can go back to actually being able to see my screen. Please select the top most promising roles for mobile phone technology in the next 5 years. What I thought was cool about this is not so much the answers, is that all of the answers are high. There's nothing that's like 2%. So mobile's going to be huge. All right. Oh, we're doing so good. So it's 34 minutes in. We got 10 more minutes. So I probably will be able to do a few questions. I'm going to walk us through a couple things that I've done, and then we're going to wrap with a closing thing about just basically patients and patient UX. So this particular application, if I could show you, I'd show you really quick. I have some screenshots. NEXTGEN was the one that I made the comment how easy it is to use because of the beautiful user interface. Okay, so that's what this is for. So we are plugging into NEXTGEN. This is an iPad app. This was released 4 years ago, 5 years ago? Not sure, the first version of it anyhow. So it is an EHR front end. So we are interfacing through APIs into the back end. NEXTGEN, these are my early scan. This is just printouts. You can kind of see the interface there. It's even better in color. So Windows 95, I mean, I feel like some of the people in this room are too young to remember when this was cool UI. But it was at a certain point. So these are just kind of different screens that we're taking a look at. I thought it'd be fun just to look through. Early concepts. One of the things we wanted to do is, what all of the EHRs posit, is get everything on single views so that their notifications, all the information is easily seen. This was our first version. You can recognize the big margin on the iPad. So that was pretty successful. And we ended up going through, I think we had it in 6 hospitals. We're still pushing this. This is still a product out here. I'm actually on the patent for this product, which is kind of fun. It's my only patent. When iOS 7 came out, I don't recall the year at this point, but we redesigned it because we had done it at the cusp of that. So we can walk through some of the design work. This is the home page. There is a dictation section that comes out. We're using nuanced, medical aware dictation. Everything there. Detail panels for demographics, medications, allergies, medical and surgical history, social history. Ability to e-prescribe. Sign documents, send them. So it's a big departure from the normal software that they're dealing with. And this was working with doctors. Photos go part of the timeline. Scribble pad. This was kind of fun. They can actually create backgrounds, so you can have anatomy backgrounds and hospital templates that become the background for the scribble pads, so then you can actually write on top of them, and those get saved into the health records. Tasking. Timeline scrollable, that's this. Can you guys see my mouse when I do that? That's a no. Looks like a no. That's all right. You don't need to move the camera. This part here. So that timeline is scrubbable. It's basically, you can go back and forth throughout the history. You can pinch and expand it so that you can drill into the timeline. Those icon rows are expandable. That'll go full screen if you need, and each icon is representative of medical treatment. So you can drill into this stuff very easily. This is for ICD-9 coding, coding of medical activities and stuff. So this is, I called it a touch filter. That actually never caught on, but I will keep calling it that because I think it's a cool term for it. So we're using this in various ways. You can basically go in, it's an anatomy view. You touch various areas that you're working on. It drills in dynamically so you can go into the codes you need. Off to the side there on the right, that's a top level. This is the next level. So basically it's a quick visual way to drill into pretty heavy amounts of data. And that's really what we were trying to do there. So yeah, like I said, that's out there. We're pushing it right now. We're working with hospitals to create customizations for this for their own systems, Epic being one of them. This is the only other one I wanted to talk about. I'm currently in the process of working with various first responders, so paramedic, fire, in the field medical, and creating an in-the-field iPad application. So right now everything's paper, everything's analog. We want to move it digital. There's challenges to no end. There's skepticism, but they do have iPads on all the trucks, and so that's what we're working with right now. In the field reporting essentially started, so this project is something that I'm currently working on, so you're not going to see the end result of this. If I speak here again in a year, you will. It'll be pretty cool. But what we need is something that is easy to use in an emergency situation. Unlike iConnects here, this is in a hospital, and it's in a doctor's office, and it's calm, and it's easy, and they can drill through stuff, and we still want it user-friendly, but it's not quite as imperative in terms of somebody's well-being. Here, though, for this next one, everything is centered around an emergency. This is a car accident. This is a fire. So The interface has to be really, really easy to use. So this is just a journey map that I did in the beginning. This is how this project started. We were simply going to replace this pre-hospital care worksheet, which is something that first responders have to fill out prior to transport. So they're moving, they're the first responder, they're the first one there, but they're moving that person on, be that to the paramedics or to the hospital. So this is what they fill out to do that. At the bottom, that bottom section there is a flow chart. That's their activity. Everything's time-stamped, everything they did. So that's how this started. We were just, well, let's make that digital. But it started to grow. The way that they work right now is they will take this. They will generally, if it doesn't match what they need to do, flip it over and take notes. And then they go back to the station and they fill it into first on scene, RMS. This is kind of similar to the EHS or EHR. Again, our lovely Windows 95 UI, very user-friendly. So they parse all of this stuff partially from memory, partially from their notes on the back of that piece of paper into this manually. They have card games and flipping coins to see who has to do it. It's not a fun chore. So this is what we initially started out. We wanted to turn this on its head. We wanted a digital solution that automatically will sync with on-scene RMS and move that data in, essentially creating a new front end. So I'll go through these quick, but this was some of the early explorations. I've been with them a number of times doing collaborative sketching and figuring this stuff out. This is a dashboard essentially pulling in the CAD, computer automated dispatch information, the 911 calls. So they feed that out to each of the first responders so we can grab that information, pre-populate some of the forms. Early sketch. This is when I got my iPad Pro and the pencil. So all my sketches got really cool for a while until I got tired of doing it again. So wireframes, I use Axure for everything. Moving into that. These were all conceptual. Okay, so that kind of left it there. Recently, though, we have decided, and this goes into our Industry 4.0 thing, to really start turning it on its head. Rather than just data collection, it occurred to us that we can make a more intelligent system today. So rather than just a form that's now on a tablet instead of on your desktop that you're filling out the information, we can make it contextually aware. And that's the part that we're working on right now, is simply it's informing the first responder as well as it's receiving the information from them. So context-aware protocols, all of this stuff, they have very clear directions. They go in order for whatever, whether it's cardiac arrest or a pediatric emergency, there is a list of things that happen in a certain order. So we can use that, because they follow it, to create context-aware scenarios that are stacked. Scanning of equipment and medications, countless hours are spent. The analogy I got was, we go to the home and we ask the elderly patient, what medications are you on? And here comes the daughter with the bucket and goes like that. They have to enter all that stuff. So we're exploring right now barcode scanners that will automatically track that. Our first MVP release is probably just going to be line them up on a counter and take a photo, and we'll parse that later. Communications, Philips is their heart rate monitor. I'm lacking the term. It's the machine that does everything. Whether that's it's tracking your vitals, it's allowing you to bring people back, monitor health. Communication, so those are generally, a lot of this equipment now is Bluetooth enabled, Wi-Fi enabled. The trucks all have Wi-Fi or hotspots. Guitar Hero Metaphor is simply something that we're playing with this particular idea. And if you've played Guitar Hero, I haven't, but my kids have, you see what you're doing, but you also get a glimpse of where you're going. And so we're working with that kind of metaphor to not only inform what's happening now, but to inform the next thing as the next thing coming up, but we'll also course correct that depending on what happened in the moment. So you're seeing this is happening. If something bad happens where you are, that will change, but you get hip to it, basically. Okay, that I just thought was cute, because that is so true. You guys can look at. So just a few more slides. We're doing great on time here. Improving patient experience. So those are just quick work walkthroughs. I have a whole bunch of products I've created for healthcare. Those are kind of neat because they're two sides of a coin. One, patient's hospital office comm, there are patients that are there. The other one being in the field emergency situations. And that will be fun to see come to life, because there's a lot of interesting user research and working with them on optimizing that app for in the field use, which we just didn't have time to get into. So create communications that drive desired behaviors, not just raise awareness. Make it personal. So we want to encourage interacting between physicians or providers and patients, not transacting between them. Clearly explain why information is needed. These are kind of general. We just saw the heuristics in the last one. A lot of these aren't different. Proprietary but connected. We're leaving, we should have left the era where things are proprietary. If you look at, Apple Health is a good one, Fitbit's a great one. You can connect everything. It's an ecosystem, and it shares with other ecosystems. And that's really key. Personalization. Okay, healthcare will soon join. Here's my closing one. It really is the next thing that's coming, I believe. I see it everywhere. Every poll that I've seen with people that are in the industry and outside of the industry, it's just primed. It's outdated, and it doesn't need to be. And so it's just a huge ship to move. It's a huge thing. Okay, I am exactly at 45 minutes. How is that? Yes, I'll take questions now until Joe says not to. We are at time. Well, the last people took like 10 minutes more. I could do a couple. Let's do 3 questions, and then I can hang out, though. I mean, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here all day tomorrow also. You can LinkedIn me if you want. Or is there a question?
I do.
Yeah. You work in healthcare, don't you?
No, I have a research consultancy that has a healthcare practice.
Oh, you nodded so many times. I was like,
Well,
oh.
no, because I've been so much a patient
Oh.
and so much a user of the MR and HR, and also like sometimes when I go to the ER, doctors ask me what I do and they start complaining about it. I'm like, put the drip in and then finish. I don't want to die.
Right.
I don't want to dehydrate. I don't want to be her.
Yeah.
While you're bitching about Epic.
Right.
So I'm not kidding.
No, I know you're not kidding. I work with physicians every day. I'm talking to people.
I've had it. And now I say I am a cook.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, my point, Jason, is this is fabulous. Why don't companies like Epic and Cerna, who put in $20 million into a hospital, have built into the contract that not only do they train, but they iterate and customize? Because that's where the problem lies, is that you can't make something for everybody. Like, I'm going to give you an example. There should be decision rules that if a test result comes back positive or false positive, it should not go to the patient. It should go to the doctor.
Right.
Because to get a false positive on lung cancer on a Saturday could give you a heart attack.
Yeah.
All the time.
No, of course.
Doctors are really upset.
Doctors don't have time right now.
But that's a decision rule.
No, it absolutely is. It's interesting.
Epic software puts that under the provider's care. They can turn that on or off.
Wait.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be too bad. It's like, what? No, I'm just saying is like, that is the kind of thing, like, those
Yeah.
on-off switch. It's one thing on LinkedIn when you say, oh, make it private or public, and you hit public. It's a different thing when you hit the decision rule, you don't know what the hell you're doing. What you're doing is terrible.
Well, I think the quick answer is simply that everybody is becoming aware of that, and we're just in that weird transition before we have moved it. I mean, there's not a good answer yet other than that we have to just...
Every hospital has to do the same research.
No, I think it needs to be systemized.
That's what I'm...
Yeah, that's what we're lacking.
Going back to your airport
Oh, yeah, no, that's exactly what's lacking right now. I don't know how we move forward without that.
analogy. It's like, it's not that hard. I mean, it's not like...
Well, and if an airplane crashes, it's not just that airline that's investigating. You see the big hangars where every little piece of that airplane is laid out on the floor, right? And everybody is trying to figure out what could have gone wrong and how could we have prevented that. And we aren't doing that with healthcare yet. And that's what we need to be doing, is analyzing it in that way. I am around. Please find me. I mean, I love talking about all this stuff. I love hearing your experiences. Thank you.